like to call this meeting of the Westland City Council to order, please. And I will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Aiden Hicks and Kenzie McLeod, two students from Roosevelt McGrath Elementary. And if you'll stay right there, Councilwoman Green's going to come down and talk to you for a couple of minutes.
All right, let's turn around so everyone can see your smiling faces. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Councilwoman Tasha Green, and I have two superstars here with us tonight. Our first superstar to my left is Aiden Hicks. Aiden is a third grade student at Roosevelt McGrath Elementary School in the city of Wayne. Aiden enjoys all subjects in school, and his teacher is Miss Fusich. Did I say that correctly, Aiden? Yep. Okay. Aiden likes to read stories about Superman. Let me ask you a question. If Superman and Batman were in a battle, who do you think would win?
Definitely Batman.
Definitely Batman? You know what? You might be right. I think Batman might win too. All right, so Aiden lives in Wayne with his mom, dad, brother, and two sisters. His favorite fruit is grapes, and when he grows up, he'd like to be an animal trainer. What got you interested in that line of work, Aiden?
So I can hug a lion.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Awesome sauce. Okay, so Aiden, for your wonderful job that you're doing in school, I have an awesome certificate for you on behalf of Westland City Council. We encourage you to keep up the good work so we can have you back with us soon, okay? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. How about a round of applause for Aiden? All right, our next superstar is Kenzie McLeod. Kenzie is also a third grade student at Roosevelt McGrath Elementary School in Wayne. Her teacher is Miss Lato, and I believe Miss Lato is here tonight. All right, her favorite subject in school is gym with her teacher, Mr. Hamilton. That was one of my favorite subjects in school too. Kenzie enjoys reading stories about foxes. What got you interested in foxes, Kenzie?
Well, they're cute and fluffy.
That's right, that's right. So Kenzie lives in Romulus with her mom, dad, her brothers, and her dog named Chase. Her favorite food is her mom's chicken roll-ups. When Kenzie grows up, Kenzie wants to be a person that helps animals when they are sick. That's awesome. So we have two people who want to work with animals. All right, so Kenzie, do you know what type of occupation or job that is? The job that helps sick animals starts with a V. Sounds kind of like
vegetarian.
Sounds just like vegetarian, but there's one letter, a couple letters different. Veterinarian. That's close enough. Veterinarian. All right, so round of applause for Kenzie. Okay. And Kenzie, for a fine job that you're doing, there's a certificate for you, also on behalf of Westland City Council. Keep up the good work. And right now we're going to invite mom, dad, friends, relatives, teachers, and also our principal from Roosevelt McGrath came out tonight to celebrate and honor his students. If you all want to join us for a photo, and you're welcome to share any comments that you might. Come on up. Totally voluntary. All right, and this is the principal. Would you like to say anything?
Hi, I'm Charlie Hallman. I'm the principal at Roosevelt McGrath Elementary School. Can I get another round of applause for these two guys? They represent just 2 of the 400 outstanding students that we have at Roosevelt McGrath Elementary. I invite all of you to stop by and see these wonderful students. Just 2 of that are here, but the other 398 are just as wonderful, I guarantee it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anything for mom or dad before we go and squeeze in and take a picture? Good job. All right, so let's all squeeze in pretty tight, and we'll take a nice photo for our city website. There you go. Yep. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Present.
Councilman Hammonds. Here. Councilman Hart. Here. Councilman Hersberg. Here. Councilman Johnson is absent excused. Councilman Londo.
Here.
President Gambal.
Present.
A quorum is present.
Begin with announcements and presentations. First, I'd like to have Councilman Johnson join myself and the mayor down, I'm sorry, Councilman Hammonds, down in front of us in the dais. Well, this is kind of a bittersweet moment for me. I've worked with Adam now for 10 years on the city council, and he's done a great job. You still got a couple weeks left yet because you're not officially done until the end of the year. But Adam, you've done a great job on the city council. You've represented the people of the city of Westland with great honor, and it's my privilege to give you this plaque that says, in recognition of patriotic and meritorious service as a member of the Westland City Council from January 1st, 2010 to January 1st, 2020. Thank you.
Councilman Hammonds, on behalf of my administration plus the citizens of Westland, we too want to honor you tonight with your last meeting with us. And I just want to tell you it's been a pleasure serving with you. We've had a chance over the last 9 years to work together in a lot of things. Actually, it's been 10 years. So work together on a lot of things. Councilman Johnson's not here tonight, but we have a similar presentation for him tonight too. But Councilman Hammonds, you and Mr. Johnson as well, we're here through some very tough times for our city. After you got elected, we went through the recession. We had to work together and make a lot of changes in our community to keep our community sustainable and work with our union groups. And that was not easy work, but we did it. We worked together, and I think that the community is better off today because of how well the city council worked with our employees, the department heads, and everybody to get the city through that. So your work, while that may have been a few years ago, I think the residents of Westland are still benefiting from it today, and they will well into the future. So you should leave here with your head held high. And since you've been a council person, now you're also a father, and I see your wife's in the audience here tonight. If Councilman Dewey Reeves was still here, he'd say you're a much snappier dresser now than when you first hired on, and you got a little bit of a beard going there too. So, but it's been a pleasure serving with you. I know on behalf of my department heads, it's always been our pleasure to work with you. You're professional, and we wish you the best. Our plaque here, it's got a small key to this city. It says, in recognition of your patriotic and meritorious service as a member of the Westland City Council from January 1st, 2010 till December 31st, 2019. Congratulations.
Just so that everyone's aware, Councilman Johnson unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but Councilman Johnson served 13 years on the Westland City Council as well, and has done a great job as a city councilman during that course of time. So again, my congratulations on his retirement from the city council moving forward. So next I'd like to have the mayor, the city clerk, and our police chief come down.
Okay, well, as these gentlemen join us here, so one of the things that the city council and the mayor's office and the clerk's office has been trying to do over the last year or so, we're going to continue in the future, is try to take a few minutes every now and then to recognize people that are doing compassionate things in our city. We talk about being a compassionate city, and there's things that happen every single day, and you guys know that, and a lot of times it goes without being recognized. So when we see something, we kind of all get together and we look for these things, and a lot of times residents will call us and suggest, or other city council members, that perhaps we should recognize these folks. So I'm going to ask the following people. Actually, why don't you open up there? We'll ask Sergeant Robert Fruit to step forward. We're going to bring all you guys up here. Officer Matt Allen. Officer Chad Bristol. Officer Rodney Donald. Officer Chaim Kozak. And Officer Kevin Yu. We're going to ask you to step forward, and actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to pass the microphone over to the police chief to tell you why you folks are being recognized tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as police chief, I'll sit in my office, and these guys at least, this is a team, by the way, of our community police officers and our traffic bureau. And over the years, they've kind of combined to one bureau where they've got different agendas out there every day when they're working, but they are kind of our main team that goes out and does a lot of our community policing, a lot of our community events. And I'll sit in my office, and at least once a week, these guys come in with an idea on, hey, Chief, we thought about something that we could do to either help build community relations within our community or to help some underprivileged people in our community. And it's changed throughout the past year or two to not only just our community, but some of our neighboring communities. These guys are doing events in Inkster and Wayne and Garden City and Detroit, and they just come with these different ideas that just blow my mind. And what today's just an opportunity that the mayor wanted to present these guys with the Compassionate City Award on a couple of the ideas. And today what the big one was, we've all seen over the years where we've had different agencies, and our agency was kind of the first to really start that, was the turkey instead of a ticket giveaway program. And what they did is on Thanksgiving, they stopped some cars, and they did it with the media last year where it got a lot of attention, where they would pull some cars over, and instead of giving them a ticket, they said, hey, we're going to give you a warning today, and they presented them with a Thanksgiving turkey, and it just got such a welcome from the residents that needed it. Well, this year they kind of wanted to expand upon that, and they said, hey, let's take a look at some of the people in our community and our neighboring communities that have had just a tough year, whether it's been loss of life in their family, there's fatal accidents, there's been overdose deaths, and all these different things, tragedies that have hit people in our community, and then it hits the families worse at the time of year of holidays and Thanksgiving. And these guys went door to door. Well, first they did the turkey giveaway. They stopped some cars and they gave those away, and just made some people's day. But then what they did is they just stopped at some residents, some houses where they knew that these people had lost some family members, and just no media attention, just kind of knocked on the door and said, hey, we want you to know that we know that you had a tough time this year, and we're still thinking about you, and we just wanted to give you something that we hope kind of brightens up your holiday a little bit. And the different, I could go on and on for hours with the different details and programs that these guys have put together over the past couple of years. But again, this is just one that they did this recently, and obviously it brings attention, and the mayor wanted to make sure that he recognized these guys for it. And so I'll let the mayor continue to talk about it, but as a police chief, I can't thank you guys enough. You make us look good out there every single day. In a time where police community relations throughout the country is at kind of an all-time low, it's nice when we got a department here in Westland that just continuously strives on trying to build that relationship and build that partnership, and so I appreciate everything you guys do.
You want to say a few words, and I'll pass these out?
Sure. So while the mayor is doing that, I think it's fair to say that our community is unique in many ways, and this is, as the chief mentioned, just one more example of building that relationship, enhancing the trust, and, you know, the good feelings that we have between residents and our public safety departments. And I just want to say personally from our office to you folks, thank you for a job well done. We truly appreciate what you're doing out there. Stay safe.
Thanks. And I just want to echo the words of our clerk and mayor. You guys put your life on the line every day, and you go above and beyond what's called for. And this is just one example of all the things you do to make our community a better place for all the residents. So from myself and from the rest of the city council, thank you for all that you guys do.
All right, let's give him a big hand. Thanks, gentlemen.
Next, we have State Representative Kevin Coleman.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, City Council, Mayor, everybody who's here tonight. Just briefly, I'd like to plug one more time our coffee hours at the Westland Library. They'll be starting back up in January 13th. That's a Monday, January 13th, 9 a.m. at the Westland Public Library. So we hope you can join us there. It's a great opportunity to interact with our constituents and to talk about any issues relating to the state of Michigan. It's an honor to serve you. It's been a great year up in Lansing. I have sent out a legislative review in the mail to most homes in the district. If you didn't receive it, anybody who's watching tonight or is in the audience, if you didn't receive it and you'd like to get it mailed to you, please call our office. It is 517-373-2576. Again, 517-373-2576. And then lastly, I'd like to thank Councilman Hammonds. Thank you for your service to the city. A decade of service to the city really means a lot. I know being on city council is not easy as we served together, went through some tough times as a council and as a city, and just want to thank you for all the time, the effort, the hard work you put in. I do have a tribute on behalf of the state of Michigan. It is signed by myself, State Senator Geis, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, and Governor Gretchen Whitmer. So I will bring that over to you in just a moment. I also have one for Councilman Johnson. I'll leave that with President Godbout. Hopefully you can get that to him. Sure. And everybody, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. I too want to thank you, Adam, for your service to the city and for all of us that live in this community. You've been a conscientious member of the city council and someone that's put in a lot of work checking things out, and having been on the council myself for a number of years, you probably exceeded a number of years. What was the total? Was it 11?
10.
10? Well, we were the same number of years on the council before I went to the legislature. So it's really, as the old saying, it's where the rubber meets the road when at the local level. And it's trying sometimes, but it's also very rewarding when someone comes up and says, I appreciate what you guys do. So I just wanted to, and I'll be getting something to you. I didn't have it tonight, but yourself and Councilman Johnson. The Wayne County, I just wanted to remind folks that the Wayne County Light Fest is open each night until the end of December. And it's different hours, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday. It starts a little later. I think it's 7 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday, and 6 o'clock on Friday, or the weekdays. But anyway, they can check those online or call, just to be sure. I wanted to announce, too, that the Wayne County Commission meetings will soon be online for those that might wish to view them, that might have trouble going to sleep or something like that. But anyway, they will be starting probably in January as soon as the voice-activated cameras that are upgraded from what was presently in the chambers, they should be installed this week, and hopefully by January, those meetings will be available for anyone to view at their leisure. Transparency at all levels of government has always been a priority for me, and it's finally making its way to the Wayne County Commission after several of us pushed for it in January of this year. The chair, to be commended, she did take her due diligence and make sure that we got a system, and hopefully it works well, and folks can hear what all of us are saying, how we're spending the $1.6 billion the county receives. The sale of the two former Ford factories, the Wilcox and Newburgh, as you've heard them called, in Hines Park, was approved by the commission. I'm sure all of you have heard that or read about it, and it was approved at our commission meeting, the first meeting in December, with 11-3 vote. I was one of those 3 no votes due to a number of reasons, including the fact that our legal counsel provided us with an opinion that the sales agreement would not prevent the properties from being converted to another use, and that it could be used for anything the owner chose to use them for after they take possession. And that was from our legal counsel. I take that to heart when our legal counsel makes a recommendation or gives us an opinion. It certainly weighs heavily on my mind. I think most paramount of all the reasons that I voted no was the fact that these mills, or better yet, factories, Ford factories, they sit within the Hines Park footprint. And my deeply held belief is that no more parkland should be sold for private development. I think it should remain in public ownership and under their control, and should not be sold off. So that's why I opposed it, and I'm comfortable with that position. Monday, as was mentioned by Representative Coleman, will be our first coffee hour for Monday, January 13th. Will be the first coffee hour for 2020 at the library at 9 a.m. Hope everybody can stop by. And in conclusion, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe holiday season. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll move on to citizens' questions or input on the agenda. Citizens will be recognized before the business of the meeting commences to address the council pertaining to items that are specifically on the business agenda. Citizens are asked to limit their questions or input to 3 minutes. Is there anyone on my left? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you. I'm here today with about 2 months of plastic recycling from a 2-person eco-conscious household. This does not account for the bucket of metal or the accumulating boxes of paper in my basement. I just wanted to address the millage you'll be talking about tonight about sanitation and recycling. To me, it's not a question of if you should approve that. Of course you should approve that. The city should be feeling ashamed and guilty that we are currently throwing piles and piles of material into the landfill. And as part of our mission statement, want to build towards sustainability and a better future, I'm sure you all hope to make whatever steps are possible to restore recycling. I hope that with that includes some information for all the residents about what can and can't be recycled, and some friendly reminders to make sure that it's most efficient as possible. And my question that I want to leave you with is not, should we restore recycling to the city of Westland, but what more can we do to continue to make this a place to live for the future? Thank you.
Anyone on my right? Mr. Rock?
regarding one point over $5 million sanitation that Mayor William Wild is going to request in March. Be careful what you vote for. It's not what you think it all is. According to the Observer paper, quote, he says, what we asked council for was to consider putting a millage question on the ballot in March that would give residents a chance to vote if they would like to bring back this recycling program. Well, here's where the curveball comes in, ladies and gentlemen. If approved, I'm quoting from the Observer paper, if approved, money for the new tax would be used for related services like trash pickup, that's not recycling, yard waste pickup, that's not recycling, and composting. I have a copy of the service agreement with Midwestern Sanitation, and under recyclable materials, yard waste and composting is not recognized as recyclables. So Wild wants to raise your taxes under the guise to bring back recycling, but going into other areas of sanitation. It's not right. Very, very, very underhanded. I was present at the study session when Wild and Godbell pushed to hire Midwestern Sanitation. According to service agreement, we, the taxpayers, have to buy and pay for all the garbage trucks at $252,000 apiece. Midwestern had no garbage trucks. They're a phantom corporation. We, the taxpayers, William Wild had this all arranged. We, the taxpayers, have to pay for all the fuel. Go figure. $125,000 this year it's budgeted. Does it ever end? We, the taxpayers, have to pay for all repairs. Ouch. William Wild, not too long back ago, even changed that. He talked to council into paying for all repairs over $5,000. Does it ever end? According to the Westland City Charter, William Wild is supposed to hold competitive bidding for sanitation. The representative from Republic was at that meeting. I happened to be there, and he told the person sitting next to me that he was not able to bid on that. According to the city charter, William Wild did not follow the city charter, and he did not have sealed bidding proposals. So, and now that has ran out, went from July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2019. Through the chair to William Wild, on the new contract with Midwestern Sanitation, did you follow the city charter and have sealed proposals for bidding? Yes or no? No, I do not want it at the end because I've done this before. You would say you talk at the end and you never do. You seem to develop amnesia. Yes or no? Did you have sealed bidding? Did you follow the city charter? Yes or no?
Your time's up, Mr. Rock.
I have none
Thank you.
response. I take it as no. So be careful what you vote for, ladies and gentlemen.
Is there anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name is Vincent Harvey, resident of Westland. To address the what do you call it, recycling program in question, I'm kind of new to all this, but I've been paying attention. I also work for another municipality that thrives in the recycling program. First of all, I'd like to know, first of all, back in the day before the recycling program kicked off, we had the curbside leaf program. And the money that was allocated for that program was traded out over to the recycling program. And now there's talk about, with the costs going up with the recycling, now they're talking about, you guys are talking about doing a millage. But instead of pushing for a millage immediately, as far as, as what other people have said in the past, what about, going through multi-community processing, joining other communities in like Rassick and whatnot to get the costs down before coming to us residents for raising the taxes for a millage to cover the cost. And if by going through and raising the millage, how long is that going to get us? We'll be back to square one, 5, 8, 10 years. And with, like one gentleman mentioned about going out to bid, keeps your costs down, it's competitive bidding. And I understand where he's coming from with sealed bids, so, but I don't know, how far that's gotten with Mr. Wild. But I just wanted to just throw that out there as, the money that we were spending for the leaf pickup transferred over to recycling, that went away. Now it's, so where's that money gone? So that money that was allocated, where did it go? So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. One on my left? Yes.
When Carol Sharp, I listen to all of this. Does anybody ever watch what's happening in the oceans and animals and all of this that's going on? And do we have a reality of what this is going to look like in 50 years? All of us, we were brought up in an environment that it wasn't like this. There weren't plastic bottles everywhere. There wasn't. And when I see 14-year-old little girls out there talking to big organizations, I mean, this is so serious that we're holding our heads in the sand. I mean, I'm disappointed. What do you want for your grandchildren? And let's take some kind of political, well, how much is it going to cost? I know money is a deal, but so is life and the oceans and the air. That can't be replaced. I'm just disappointed and ashamed.
One on my right?
Good evening. So last time in the study session, we said the millage was going to generate, I believe it was either 1.72 or 1.75 million dollars. Out of that, the city of Westland wants to get 1.6 million. The cost to restart the curbside recycling, which the mayor terminated earlier this year, was going to be $600,000. My question was, is that $600,000 an annual fee, or is that on top of what we already pay, the $90,000 a month? Can anyone answer that? That's not even a hard one.
I'm going to speak on the village and I'll try to answer any questions that come up during my conversation on the village.
Okay.
Okay. So that was my question. If it was $600,000 in addition to this $90,000, because we're spending $90,000 a month on each wave. I mean, the trash, okay, give them that. But on the recycling, I mean, when we could just have one truck pick it all up instead of doing this fake recycling. There's no, okay. So this boggles my mind. So as the man, I'm not against recycling, I'm for it. But as the man before me stated, why wasn't there any other bids, and why is it just Midwest Recycling? Which draws me to Council President Godbout. Your Facebook states that you are the vice president of Midwest Recycling. Is that true?
There are two different corporations. Yes, I'm vice president of Midwest Recycling. Midwestern Sanitation has the trash hauling contract. Two different corporations.
Okay, but are you a part of that group, I guess? Are you employed by them in any way?
By Midwest Recycling?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so I would think if I was Midwest Recycling, I was working with them, I could get my city a better deal as opposed to increase our fees. I don't want to think there's some sort of corruption going on, but Mr. Gabel, would you be willing to provide the city with your income from Midwest?
No. Mr. Asper, this is two different topics. I don't handle, my corporation does not handle the typical recycling that's done at the curbside. We do clothing and shoe recycling, period.
Gotcha.
So, again, your allegations about my involvement with the Midwestern sanitation
I gotcha.
contract is not accurate.
Okay.
Is there anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? We'll close citizens' comment and move on to the consent calendar. Motion by Councilman Landau. Is there support by Councilman Hart? Is there any discussion from the council? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
Council has approved the following consent calendar items. Minutes of the regular meeting held December 2, 2019. Approval of a request from Carol Nellius on behalf of St. Mary Cause of Our Joy Catholic Church to serve beer at their annual Polka Mass and Polish Dinner event to be held at the church on Saturday, February 1, 2020. Approval of contract extension with the Conference of Western Wayne and Department of Youth Assistance for Delinquency Prevention Services for at-risk youth. The contract shall continue until September 30, 2020, and the mayor and city clerk are authorized to execute the contract on behalf of the city. Last item on the consent calendar, adoption of Ordinance 248-A95, an ordinance to amend Ordinance 248 to show I-1 district classification where CB4 is now shown in the area situated in the city of Westland described as 39139 Ford Road, south side of Ford, west of Hicks. That was Planning Department number 2215. Moving to new business. Item 1, approval to accept city attorney's recommendation regarding pending litigation as discussed in the closed study session, Coaches versus City of Westland.
Motion by Councilman Herzberg. Is there support? Support by Councilman Hart. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business item 2, set public hearing date to review the proposed Parks and Recreation 5-year master plan. The suggested public hearing date is January 6, 2020.
Motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilman Herzberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business item 3, approval of 2020 appointed officials and mayor's office pay plan for the period of January 1, 2020 through December 31, 2020.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Hammonds. Is there support? Support by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Councilwoman Green?
Thank you. For the record, I would like to state that I am not in agreement with the recommended increase to this payment plan for 2020, item number 3. And there are several reasons why. But to speak to some of those points, most of the executives here in the city that work for the mayor already make 6 figures. Some of them make the highest that I've seen is $150,000 base salary plus benefits and all types of other perks. But the majority of the executives or directors make 6-figure salaries already, we have hired and created additional jobs in the city, knowing the status of the finances in the city of Westland. Every year you hear the mayor announce that Westland has a balanced budget. Westland has never had a balanced budget. Westland does not have a balanced budget because we have a retirement program in Westland that we are completely underwater with. We are right now in a crisis mode with the state of Michigan. We had to enter into a repayment agreement that typically has resulted for other municipalities to the point, it typically has resulted in emergency management or the city filing bankruptcy. And while Westland did not explore either of those options, we have a crisis in terms of our funding. So you can take out a portion of the budget, which in this case would be our retirement program, and keep everything else in and say, oh, we have a balanced budget. But when you combine the expenses versus the money that we're taking in for taxes and all of the other money that we're taking in the city, we are extremely negative. And it is a farce to give this view that we are financially stable in this city, because we are not. Because if we were financially stable, we would be funded with our retirement program in the city. When I joined council 2 years ago, Plano Moran told city council members that we need to take a intentional look at the salaries in this city, because we could go in a bad direction within a couple years or so. And since that time, we have hired people in the city of Westland. We have maxed out the salary cap. So every time when you bring somebody in and you refuse to leave a cushion, every time you give an increase, because there's no cushion to that budget, now you have to find more money to give this person more money because you hired them in at the top of the salary chain. We continue to do that. The fire department in the city of Westland only got 1% of an increase this year, plus money for uniforms, minimal money for the fire department. And the year prior, several of the city council members had to get together and prevent what would have been a cut to the fire department's budget. But we are going to give the city administration, the elected officials, increases just because. But you're also proposing in the same breath that taxpayers now pay more taxes. How can you say to taxpayers, we have a crisis and we need you to bite the bullet, but everybody gets a salary increase? That's not how it should work. Also, there has been no documentation submitted to City Council that would support another increase for the administration and elected officials in the city, other than it's just typical business as usual. Every year, everybody gets an increase. We didn't get anything to substantiate that, this is the reason why we're recommending that they get more than the fire department. And also, there's a huge increase to the vacation schedule. So the vacation schedule as a new hire, people who come in as a new hire in the city of Westland walk in on day one with 3 weeks paid vacation. That's not counting their benefits and anything else they get. They walk in on day one with 3 weeks. By 8 years, they have 5 weeks. 8 years with the city. By 16 years, they get 6 weeks paid vacation, plus every federal, state, and government holiday is paid. So now we are recommending to taxpayers, yeah, we're going to we want you to pay more money so we can, but on the back end, we are going to make sure that, in-house, we're taken care of. You didn't elect us to come in here and fatten our belts. If the residents have to bite the bullet, everybody should have to bite the bullet, and that goes for the administration, every elected official, including myself. Every employee that is not under union contract should have to bite the bullet along with our citizens. And that is why I recommended that we do not put this millage on the March ballot, because most of Westland voters will turn out for the November presidential primary. Statistically, in the city of Westland, most voters come to vote for the president during the general, and the city knows that. But we are proposing to put it on the March ballot so that the smaller majority of residents will determine if everybody's taxes goes up, instead of giving the majority of voters the opportunity to say, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree. It is not fair. In addition to that, in addition to this salary increase and the tax increase, we have the mayor proposed an increase to the city assessing contract that also did not go out to bid, that I presented multiple questions with. The city assessing contracts had a year and a half left on that. At the time, the mayor wanted to cancel that contract, to city council to approve cancellation of that contract, and to give the city assessor, lock him in for another long-term hold, which would prevent small businesses from being able to come into the city of Westland and compete for the opportunity to work for our city, because there's another long-term contract for these contractors who get millions and millions of dollars from the city of Westland year over year. And if you check our campaign statement, city council, the mayor, everybody who's elected in the city of Westland, if you look at our campaign statements, you will see big money from these multi-million-dollar long-term contracts in the city, contractors in the city of Westland, who we're not asking them to come in here and bite the bullet, but we're going to tell residents, oh, it's just going to be maybe 50, maybe 100, maybe 200. Do you know how much $50 to $200 to $300 could affect somebody who's already on a fixed income? That's a lot of money when you don't have it. And even if you did have it, we are not managing these expenses the way that we should be in the city. And I was not elected to come in here and be anybody's friend. I was elected to be the representative for the people who wanted me in office. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Good, bad, pretty, however it is, I'm going to be very honest and transparent with you. I realize everybody won't like it, but that's not what I'm here for. I do not agree with giving public servants and people who are here to serve the city increases when everybody else is asked to bite the bullet. Now, if we all, the way that I look at it is, if everybody is asked to, so to speak, if we all have to eat peanut butter and jelly for the next year or two and hunker down and we got to sacrifice citywide, then everybody's eating peanut butter and jelly. But if I have to eat peanut butter and jelly while you eat steak, please understand it's going to be a problem, and I'm going to be very vocal about it. I do not agree with the salary increase while you're proposing tax increases for our residents. So I object to this, and I will not be supporting it. And finally, some of these positions that I did not mention, they also have car allowances. So how dare we act as if we're not treating our administration well? They make good salaries and have good benefits in the city of Westland. So they can afford to take the same sacrifice that we are expecting Westland residents to. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion from the council? Any other discussion from the council? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hammonds. Yes. Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg. No. Councilman Johnson is absent, excused. Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business, item 4. Approval of 2020 city clerk's benefit package for the period of January 1, 2020 through December 31, 2020.
Motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilman Councilman Hammonds. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Green.
Thank you. I think the clerk's department does a great job here in the city of Westland, but for the exact same reason I'm against this. The clerk has a benefits package, just like the things that I stated. I'm not going to reiterate. He also has a car allowance. Both the clerk and the deputy clerk make well over $100,000 a year in taxpayers' dollars. If we're going to tell taxpayers to pay more money while we're not even managing the expenses appropriately, and we're just giving these contractors free will to come in here and do anything, to say they need more money with no proof, and we just rubber stamp it, no. If the taxes are going up for the residents or being proposed as the only way to make it through this crisis, then I'm not in agreement with any salary increases within the city. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion from the council? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green. No. Councilman Hammonds. Yes. Councilman Hart. Yes. Councilman Hertzberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson is absent, excused. Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
New business item 5, Approval of 2020 Deputy City Clerk Wage Benefit Package for the period of January 1, 2020 through December 31, 2020.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Londa. Is there support? Support by Councilman Hammonds. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hammonds. Yes. Councilman Hart. Yes. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson is absent excused. Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business, item 6, approval of March 10, 2020 sanitation millage ballot proposal.
Motion by Councilman Hersberg, supported by Councilman Hart. There were some questions on it. Mayor?
Good evening, good evening, everyone. So I'll kind of reiterate what I said at the last meeting when I mentioned that this was going to be on the next agenda. So what we've asked City Council to do, and what's before them tonight, is to approve ballot language for the March election, which would allow the city to levy up to 1 mil to help fund sanitation operations. Now, there's been a little bit of talk about the language of the millage request, and I want to try to explain that one more time. In our current budget, our sanitation millage was basically the city council approved $200,000 out of the general fund to help with the sanitation budget. So the sanitation budget is basically at its max. And I don't want people to think that the city of Westland are using their sanitation dollars unwisely. And I want to reiterate this part I said at the last meeting. I'm just like you. I want government to work within their means. You're welcome. This is a sanitation millage that was passed in 1968 for 3 mills. The city of Westland has worked under the 3 mill sanitation millage since 1968. And if you think about all the trash and all the leaves and all the compost and all the recycling, everything that this city has done since 1968, that's all been paid under that existing millage. The reason that we had to suspend the recycling part of that in the past year, the recycling program, was because, like I said, the sanitation millage was just about maxed out. Our recycling rate went from $18 a ton to $80 a ton. So there wasn't money in the budget to pay the additional cost. So with that said, if the city levies up to 1 additional millage for sanitation, we'll be able to, and we're asking for it for 10 years, what we'll be able to do then is keep our sanitation operations sustainable for the next 10 years, and we'll have the money to bring back recycling. So I don't want to confuse people and say that this is a recycling millage. We did not ask for a recycling millage. We asked for the levy up to 1 mil for the operations of our sanitation. Recycling falls under that. So once again, this is a millage that's been in place since 1968. If you guys remember, a while back, the library had to go out and ask for additional millage because they had a millage too that had been in place for a long time, and they could no longer fund operations under that existing millage. There was talk about the leaf pickup, and the gentleman that's here, thanks for coming here tonight, and I appreciate you bringing that up. At the time, as the city was looking to bring on recycling, that was a trade-off. The leaf pickup program, at that time, we estimated, I believe it was about $700,000 a year to deliver this service. At the time, the city, we stopped the leaf pickup program, and then we had to purchase the recycling containers, which was about $1 million. Fortunately, at that time, when we started recycling, we were actually getting paid $40 a ton for it, so that helped sustain the sanitation millage for additional time. There were people that said that if we do recycling, we'll have to come back and ask for another sanitation millage or raise the sanitation millage. And we've been able not to do that for a long time. As far as the question came up, was the trash contract bid out properly with the city charter? And the answer to that is yes. The city's actually only had 1 trash hauler for as long as we've been a city. And that contract comes up periodically, and it's always been handled in a professional manner. It's a professional services contract, and the city has several of those, and it was handled properly. The question also came up is that we bought trucks for the trash hauler and we pay for his fuel. That's not true. The trucks are our trucks. And one of the ways that we've been able to make the sanitation millage last as long as it has is because when you go out for, say you go out for a bid on a trash contract, and a company has to come in and buy 7 trucks to service your community, there's a cost for that. They pass that cost on to the community. So what we were able to do is, and we talked about this at the time when we did it, and we had full support from the city council that was here at the time, was that so we could stay underneath of our sanitation millage, was that we would purchase the trucks ourselves because we could get a better deal as a city. We would purchase the fuel ourselves because then we wouldn't have to pay the road taxes that our contractor would have to pay. So we own those trucks. Those trucks have value. So at the end of the day, if we wanted to sell those trucks, it's going to bring in revenue. At the end of the day, the trucks have to be maintained. They have to be replaced. So all of this was given a lot of consideration. The city council was on board with this. We've tried to be as fiscally responsible for as long as we can with these dollars. Now, the question also came up, why the March ballot? Is that because that's the lowest voter turnout? I would say the reason it's March is the exact same reason I said it the last time. If we don't put it on the March ballot, the earliest we'll be able to put it on is the fall. We would collect the ballot, we would collect the millage the following spring, and would go a whole nother calendar year without the recycling program. I don't think that was the intent of anybody on council. I think all of us understood is that the residents wanted this. They wanted us to bring it back as quick as we can, and that's what our plan is. Now, this is just the first step. The city council, we're asking them tonight to put the ballot language on the ballot. At that point, then it's up to you guys. It's up to the residents to decide, is this something that we want? If you decide that you don't want it, then we're going to have to try to figure out how do we maintain the services that we have. And one of the things that we added back to recycling or sanitation, which was very expensive, was bulk pickup. And the community said they wanted bulk pickup. The city council said the community wants bulk pickup. So we worked together. We brought back bulk pickup, which increased our tipping fees at the landfill. We had to buy trucks to handle the bulk pickup. And we gave up the revenue that was generated because we were charging for that. Now we do it for free. So that was another trade-off, which kind of shortened the life of our sanitation millage. So it's just one of those things as a community we're going to have to address every now and then. And I can tell you, as your mayor, I've been extremely conservative as far as millages go. This will be the first millage that I've asked the city council to put on the agenda to put on the ballot. Since I've been mayor, we did have to raise the 345 police and fire retirement millage, but that was something that was part of a larger overall city financial restructure that every single person that was on city council at the time, if I remember right, agreed to it, because we downsized the city. We got tremendous concessions from the unions, who were all under contract at the time. And a lot of those concessions were our new hires, which have brought our costs down today. So we've been very conservative on millages. When you look at your tax bill, you'll see that a lot of people say our taxes are high. When you take a look at that, I know it's been tried to be explained before, a very small portion of that actually comes to the city of Westland. There has been tax increases in the past. The library asked for an additional mill a few years ago, and the city responded to that. But the other millages have been, the school district asked for a sinking fund renewal, and the community responded. Prior to that, Wayne County RESA asked for a new millage, and the county responded. The SMART millage has been up, and the city's responded. The jail millage has been up, and the city supported it. The SMART millage has been up. So a lot of those taxes is because the people of Westland voted for them. But my administration, this is the first millage that we've asked to be put before the voters, and that's because of what we said with our sanitation millage. So I know that was a lengthy answer. At this point, we're asking the city council to support it, but basically that's the first step. If this is approved tonight, it'll go on the March ballot, which means that the absentee ballots will go out in about 6 weeks. So we're going to have a very short turnaround to explain to people what we're doing and why. Now, because we're asking to levy up to 1 mil, that gives the city a lot of room still to talk about recycling. We know that under the current, we had a council session and a study session. We talked about their current rate of recycling for our tonnage, which is about 5,000 tons a year, is going to cost us about $600,000. So if we move forward with the millage, that gives us the ability to negotiate. There's a lot of different ways that we could do it, and we're gonna look at every single way. There's been talk that how come Westland doesn't partner with another community or start a regional recycling center, and those are all great ideas, and we're pursuing that, but there is not another Wayne County community that's doing that right now. Oakland County has done a great job with that. Wayne County, unfortunately, has not taken a lead on a regional recycling plan or place to do that. So there's a lot of talk about now's the time to do it, and Westland's going to be at the table of that. I guarantee you I'll be at the table for it. So, Council President, I know it was a long-winded answer, but I tried to answer as much as I thought I could, and I know that we're going to, if this council moves forward with this, the city's going to be under certain limitations on what we can and can't say at public forums, so I thought I'd try to explain as much of it tonight as I could. Thanks.
Thanks. Is there any discussion from the council? Any discussion from the council? Yes. Councilwoman Green?
Thank you. I, too, am not in agreement with, I guess I'm just very disappointed that we're at the point of raising taxes. So the bottom line is the voters will decide. I would have liked to have given this opportunity to the majority of Westland voters during the November general election. We've known about this looming recycling issue for an extensive time, and nothing was done about it. This is not something that we just found out about last month and now we got to jump to action. We've known about this, but we're going to throw it on the March ballot as if it's, you know, a 911 that came out of nowhere. That's not what has occurred with this recycling issue. And when you are proposing a tax increase in a city that statistically is blue collar, Westland is not white collar by median or overall income averages in this city. This is not, you know, this is a working class city, and we have a large senior citizen population in the city of Westland as well. And as many of you know, seniors are on fixed incomes, whether it be Social Security or pension or what have you. A lot of them have that reality. So when you talk about raising taxes and you don't give the majority of the residents the opportunity to say, I'm just very disappointed at that. However, you know, I think many residents do, they enjoy the recycling program here in the city. The issue that I have with the ordeal is that when you ask residents to come out of pocket, that should absolutely be a last resort when you have exhausted every other opportunity. You have done everything that you have, and now we're going to have to make a hard decision. And the answer is not always yes. Sometimes it's no. So we have to do what we have to do. But we have not done that in the city of Westland. These contractor contracts have come across city council, and I have asked questions, not just with the city assessor contract, the trash contractor, who is another large campaign contributor to almost every elected official in this city for years. These people come in here, and he stood at that podium and said he needed the city to shell out almost more than $500,000 for new trucks. The city, these men did not, including the mayor, they didn't ask for proof. They didn't ask for an outside inspection on those trucks. They didn't ask that we receive the trucks after we buy the new ones. I asked, and it was still approved. The same thing with the city assessor. We're maxing out all of these salaries. We're creating positions in the city, and then we go to the voters and say, you know, we need you to pay more, which in some cases you do. But you don't do that when you are just, you don't ask these contractors to even freeze their prices. And some of this stuff is not going out to bid. The recommendation for that city assessing contract that would have given him a 33% increase on a long-term contract, I asked the administration, they refused to send that out to bid to get a comparable rate. So I'm very disappointed that we are now at the point of telling raising taxes on our citizens while taking salary increases in-house. That is extremely disappointing to me. And if this were corporate America, to frame this for you, imagine having a supervisor who tells you that the company is not making money. We're underwater. We're not making enough money. But by the way, I'm taking a salary increase, and I'm going to get a nice, handsome increase to my benefits package. But by the way, you're not getting a raise, and also your insurance rates are going up. Like, how do you do that? Just because this is taxpayers' money does not mean it should be handled any differently. I don't agree with it. I totally don't agree with it, and I'm just very disappointed. And what one of the gentlemen stated about the trucks, the previous council, they did agree. They agreed to buy all the trucks. They agreed to pay for the gas. Now the city owns the trucks, which means the city has to maintenance these trucks. The city also has to pay this contractor to come in and pull all the trash. In a city that is not even funded for the retirement program. So, when you vote for us to be your representative, look at how we vote. That tells you what's important to us. Not showing up at your church, buying refreshments. When you all talk about politicians being dishonest, you vote the same people back in because you remember our names, then you get what you get. So I'm very disappointed, and you know, we'll see what the residents say, but I'm just very disappointed that this is being rushed onto the March ballot, and we are getting ready to raise taxes on residents while taking salary increases in-house, and not even having 1 ounce of oversight for these contractor expenses that come in here with no proof. In addition to the fact that all of these numbers that this community has been given about it's going from this price a ton to that price a ton, the city council has not been given one shred of documentation to substantiate that. We have not been given one piece of not a copy, not a flyer, not a letter, not anything. We were just told. And that was a part of the issue when I joined city council. When I got on city council and I asked 2 of these council members, how are you all voting on these contracts and we don't got any paperwork? We just got a recommendation. So when you start asking questions, then you become disliked. But I don't care about being disliked. I'm not going on the record voting against what I believe is the benefit of the community. So I'm just very disappointed with how this is being handled. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion from the council? Any further discussion? I just have a couple of comments. One is that every resident has the ability to vote in March on this issue. It is not like only some of the residents can vote. This is a presidential primary or to see who gets on the ballot. Every resident in this city has the ability to vote. This would, assuming that it gets approved by council, there will be other millage, I believe, questions on the ballot as well. So it's not only this millage, but there's at least one other one that I'm aware of that will also be on the ballot in March. That being said, as the mayor explained, if it does not go on this ballot, we will be another year before we can even look at recycling based off of the sanitation millage as it currently exists. And as the mayor stated, that millage, which is 3 mills, has been in place since 1968. And the city has operated under that millage. Actually, that millage has been rolled back due to Headley. And the current millage, if I'm not mistaken, Steve, is about 2.46, 2.42? 2.41, not the full 3 mills that we were levying back in 1968. So the millage currently is less than what we were levying back at that point in time when it was initiated. So, and currently we're running just our existing sanitation budget at a deficit, which means we're pulling money out of general fund for the sanitation purposes, which does not allow to maintain a sustainable recycling program. I fought for years to get a recycling program in this city. Commissioner Anderson can attest to that fact because he was on the council at that point in time when I was fighting. I was part of a recycling committee that involved former Councilwoman Grunstadt and several other residents to bring recycling into the city. And, it troubles me dearly that we do not have an active recycling program that we could and should have in this city. So this is not the council passing a millage. This is simply putting it on the ballot to see if the residents have a desire to reinstitute a recycling program within this city, as well as cover the ever-rising costs of sanitation pickup. Our costs for just taking it to the landfill has gone up year over year. It went up again this year for taking the trash to a landfill. So costs don't go down, unlike our millage has because of the Headley proposal. So again, this is simply a vote to put it on the ballot and let the voters decide if they want to see this city have a sanitation fund that's sustainable. It's for a 10-year period and would have to be renewed after 10 years. So with that, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hammonds. Yes. Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Herzberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson is absent excused. Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business item 7, approval of voucher.
Motion by Councilman Herzberg. Is there support? Support by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to citizens' comments or requests. Citizens will be recognized at the end of the meeting immediately following the agenda item approval of vouchers. Citizens are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. All citizens wishing to speak will be heard. Is there anyone on my left? Mr. Sharp.
Good evening. Ken Sharp, Westland. I know there's been a lot of discussion on how many voters we have at one or how many we have at a different one, but I'm sure that most everybody in here is a registered voter. And we all have the right to vote on every single thing that we choose. If some people choose not to go, well then, to me, that's a shortcoming on their part. I try and do my best to vote on every single thing that comes forward, because then my voice is important to me. So I think it's important for everybody to vote on every single item that comes before them, that they have the opportunity to do that. And I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
One on my right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but I was giving an opportunity to find out from new business number 1, we obviously are going to pay off on a lawsuit. And is there any dollar amounts that we're going to be paying out on that? Can you share any of that information? It was not shared during.
I will in my comments then.
We will be.
I will in my comments.
Okay. So there was some wording on that. I downloaded the wording on this lawsuit. And it's not a whole lot of money. This is about a property owner, right? Some disposal, getting rid of some trash on some property. Okay. And he was charged a fee. And the city couldn't even come down with a good reason, a good money dollar amount. The guy was charged $1,009, and he was asking for justification. And it looked like the city provided a bill for, we can account for $449 of this. So where's this $560? This seems like a trivial amount of money to be losing any money on. But there was some other stuff in here I won't go into, but one of the wordings just kind of blew me away here is it says at the hearing, the defendant, which was the city of Westland, stated it had no idea how it calculated the $1,009 charge to the plaintiff and argued that it was the plaintiff's burden to explain the basis of defendant's calculations and charges. That just seems kind of odd to get sued over something like a dollar amount. I would think that fees should be set, etched in stone, but what budget's this coming out of? I mean, is this, we've already approved raises, pensions, and now we're going to incur this couple $100.
Anyone on my left? Yes. Yes, Ruth.
Good evening, everyone. Ruth Dale, Westland. A couple of thank yous. I would like to thank Michael McElhone for all his hours and accomplishments on the Westland Historical Commission. And also a thank you to my friend David Carrick for all of his hours spent at the Historical Park this year. And I would like to thank Councilman Adam Hammonds for his time and years on Westland City Council. Thank you. And Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you.
One on my right. Mr. Rock?
Regarding sanitation, William Wild, you're a liar. I happened to do a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, a while back on the bidding for the sanitation for Midwestern when you decided that you wanted to hire them and talk the council into doing it. And according to the Freedom of Information Act, it's substantiated that what Republic had to say, he was not able to put a bid in. So regarding the leaf pickup, you're a liar on that too. He just mentioned a few minutes ago, cost $700,000. I was at all those meetings in the past. It was, quote, $200,000. And if you look on the records, it'll substantiate that. He even sold one of the machines to Livonia. Livonia thought we were crazy. All those leaves are going down in the drains and we're having more problems. It just doesn't even make sense, but he's never made sense since he's been elected. William Wild, you're a con artist on putting this on the March ballot. And why would that be, Council? Why would he be a con artist? He's known about this for a long time. This could have been put on the ballot last month on November when we had elections for new council members. I don't know why it couldn't have been. First of the year, we're going to be voting for a new council president. I'm recommending to this council that they put somebody else in other than James Godbell. The reason for that is he did not pay his water bill for 3 years. And a female citizen happened to find this out, and it was brought forth at this council. And I think he's a total disgrace. You're a discredit. In fact, if you want to do this council a favor, you should resign. At the time, for 3 years he didn't pay, and he'd still be not paying if it hadn't been discovered by a female citizen, taxpayer. At the time, according to our assessor's office, he had a residence valued at $300,000. He had loaned Marvaso $25,000. Now, anybody with that kind of money, can he plead poverty? There's so many people, I know a lot of senior citizens, they're just making ends meet. The water bills now have become an astronomical part of our utilities. It's over $34 million. The other thing Wild lies about, he states the budget $68 million.
There are no personal attacks.
It's $125 million, our city budget. What he did is he didn't include the largest department, which is water and sewer, which takes in from your purses and wallets over $34 million. And there's 4 other departments he doesn't include. That'd be like me asking you, one of you council members, how much did it cost you to live last year? And you decide, well, I'm not going to include my house payment or my car payment. Well, hello. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on.
Thank you, Mr. Rock. Your time is up. Anyone on my left? Yes.
Lori Wilson, Westland. Y'all can throw some shade up in here, boy, this is ridiculous. I don't believe that people are giving the citizens of Westland a fair shake. We know how to vote. As far as that millage being put on the ballot, that was a question. The citizens have the answer. Do what you have to do. I don't want to come back in November and pay 128 as opposed to 118, or 178 as opposed to 118. I don't want to pay more money. If you can clear this situation up now, clear it up. All those who pay their taxes, they will understand, they will go and they will vote. It doesn't make a difference if it's in March, if it's in August, if it's in November. There's social media, you want to get the information out, get it out. You get every other little piece of bull crap in this city out on social media. Do the same thing for this.
Anyone on my right? Ray?
First of all, I do agree when it comes down to, it's glad this thing was brought up tonight about that trash or whatever, and plastics, and people do have a right to vote, and I think that people have that choice. We need to concentrate to work together and pull this thing together next year, and hopefully with the 2 new council people, this will happen. It's important, because not just one can't just do the decision. It takes everyone to work together, and I don't see that in here sometimes. I don't want to be negative, but it's really important because the voters put you up there, and they want to see, and I want to see it get better too, you know. But anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about that, but people do have a right to vote, and I think it's important to focus about getting the people out there to vote, to get this stuff done. With this trash, and I think it's important to let people know early on that. But I don't want to harp on that. I want to talk about positive things. 2019 has been a good year for me. And a good year, and sometimes we need to think back about the good stuff, what happened during the year. We're getting ready for 2020. I know I'm getting ready for it. We have to face it. And Adam, I want to say good luck to you. It's been up there a long time. But I want to say congratulations to Mike and Andrea when they come up there, and hopefully they will all work well together. And one person can't do it. Okay. So anyway, mental health is my biggest thing for next year, and I'm taking it to the road. Coffee hour with Kevin and I am taking it to other places. So mental health is very important, and even that health, I think what Green was talking about, that's important too, but we need to make sure that everyone is inclusive. Seniors, people with disabilities, and everybody. Because mental health affects us all. It can affect your family, it can affect it out there. And with the DWI, HN is called, because it's not HA anymore, it's a brand new integrated health. What I want to look at mental health is a positive health, because people can get treatment, can get help, can live a life. So that is my passion. Mental health has helped me in my life. Ray of Hope this year. I also want to talk about the Youth Group Assistance Program. I saw that on the paper earlier, but the risk, that's a really good program. I got an award with them this year, and I'll stand behind them. I speak with that group. And seeing these kids getting a second chance of getting better lives out there. And I'm planning to be at the next resolution in January. I wanted to wish everyone a happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I am ready for 2020. And also want to say to the fire department, you guys worked really hard in the police department. And I was really happy tonight to see them being recognized. I want to say thank you.
Is there anyone on my left? Yes, ma'am.
Margot Kalenda Mason, Westland. Getting the hang of this. This is my first city council meeting. It was certainly informative. Bringing this back up with me just because this is a burden. This is a burden to everyone in this city. I'm saving my recycling. I'm not putting it in the trash and doing this kind of fake recycling thing that we were all encouraged to do. And I save it up, and every 6 months I fill my car to the brim, and I drive over to Ann Arbor, and I pay money there, and I sort it all out. And it takes me time, it takes me money, it takes me effort. I'm a PhD student. I have a lot of time. That's fine. Not everyone in this city does. Not everyone has the patience or the money or this extra anything to put up with this burden. So I'm glad it's being talked about, but I want to reiterate that this is the bare minimum we can be doing for sustainability in this city. We're just voting to not make things worse. We're not even talking about making anything better. I want to hear you up here talking, how do we reduce fossil fuels? How do we achieve carbon neutrality? Like, how are we improving in this city for the future? I also just wanted to take a moment to say, Councilman Green, you said a few times tonight, I don't care if anyone in this room likes me, I really like you, and I appreciate you for speaking your mind and for encouraging communication and conversation among the council members instead of just sort of going through item by item. Thank you very much. Happy holidays, Happy New Year.
Anyone on my right?
Good evening again. Okay. Hello. Mr. Wild, I had the question, how much more, other than the $600,000, was it going to be for the recycling program a year, including the pickup and everything? You said you were going to revisit it, and you didn't answer that question, if you could. Okay. All right. So I understand that there's the millage is supposed, it's for sanitation. How long of a fixed rate are we getting on this? Are we going to be doing like the 1 year or 2 years or however long it's been going on? Or are we actually getting a 10-year fixed rate? Because I think that's the biggest problem. If you're gonna ask us for money, whether you get it or not, and the rate goes up, are you guys gonna fix it this time? And do you guys know the amount yet? No one? No one? Okay.
We'll address it at the end. Mayor
Okay.
said he'd address it at the end.
The last thing, City Council Gaba, I discovered that actually received a message from somebody, I'm assuming is in Westland or works with the city, that your wife and you sold your home last year. They were questioning me, like, wanting me to see what address you use for your, to run for city council. I knew what it was. I knew your wife had bought a condo in 2017. So I was looking at the dates, and your wife and you had 2 homesteads at the same time in the city of Westland. Now, an individual can each have 1 homestead. If you're married, that one couple can only have 1 homestead. The only exception Michigan has to this law is that you have to have your property up for sale, your original one, and then you can buy another home. And then that's the only way you can have 2 homesteads on property. And you can do that for up to 3 years. But your wife bought her property in 2017, I believe, and you sold your property in 2018. It wasn't listed till March, meaning you guys had 2 homesteads on the properties. Considering how much you guys pay in taxes, I'm not going to go into it, it's about 30% of a tax reduction. So it's about $2,100. Do you have any explanation for it?
I will make my comments to you when you're finished.
All right, that's what I thought. All right, thank you. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Hammonds.
Is there anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? We'll close citizens' comments and move on to comments from the administration. Mayor?
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to try to go through a few things here. As far as the cost for recycling, the $600,000, that was the number that, with the latest proposal that we had received from the recycling center, with our average net tonnage or gross tonnage of recyclables. As far as, do we have a fixed rate, do we have a cost? Tonight we were asking City Council to approve a millage to help us be in a position that we could bring back recycling. We don't currently have a contract for recycling, so if we can negotiate something, it'll come back before the City Council and we'll take a look at the length of it, we'll take a look at the fixed rate, we'll look at the materials that we'll accept. So there's a lot of this, that part's gonna be a moving thing into the next year. As far as our cost to do it, well, you mentioned 90,000. I'm not sure exactly where that number came from, but at the end of the day, you said FOIA, I'm not sure what you FOIA'd, but at the end of the day, the city's paying to take our trash to the landfill, or when we were taking trash to the landfill and recyclables to the recyclable center. So we're still paying, we're moving the same amount of tonnage. So those costs may not, they may change incrementally, but it remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, our tonnage, our total tonnage hasn't gone down. Now we're taking it all to one place as opposed to 2 different places. So there's going to be a lot of discussion, and I encourage you and everybody else to attend the public meetings when we have on this. Ma'am, that you came forward tonight on the recycling issues. I'm so glad to see you, and I want you to stay active, because the city of Westland is trying to be, we have been for a while trying to become a more sustainable city. And one of my initiatives I started when I first became mayor was the Westland Mission Green. Our curbside recycling program was the cornerstone of that, and with our 80% participation rate, we were one of the top in the nation. But we didn't stop there. It's taken, in working with the city council, it's taking several years, but we've replaced every streetlight in the city from the sodium lights to LEDs, which have saved a lot of money. In most of the city buildings, and this right here is probably the best example of it, we have low energy efficiency appliances, lights, toilets, so on and so forth. We replace those with most of our buildings. We are continually looking for ways to be a more greener community. Right now, our police department is using E85 in all their patrol vehicles. We're looking at potential ways to introduce natural gas or propane into our emergency vehicles. So we need all the help we can get on this, because I think at the end of the day, we want to be sustainable. So every time a resident steps forward and talks about sustainability, I think it's encouraging for all of us. So please stay active and we need to pick your brain a little bit on some other ideas you had. Those were great ideas. Council, thank you for moving the millage proposal to the ballot, and I look forward to giving you whatever information that you need and supplying it with the residents so they can make a informed decision. Thank you, Council, for moving forward with the appointed officials' pay plan tonight. There were some comments, some of those I would disagree with. I think that this appointed officials' pay plan is in line with all of our other employee groups. This was a small cost of living increase of 2%, which is in line with every other employee group that we've done: police, fire, our supervisors, our AFSCME employees, our unionized and non-unionized court workers, and with the recent contract that was approved for our library. These are the same increases that we've seen with those other contracts, so it's not out of line. These are professionals, and most of the department heads that had things on the agenda tonight have left, but they do a great job for us day in and day out. We're very proud of these folks. They do a great job, and sometimes I feel bad for them that they have to put up with some of the abuse that they do, because they do have other options. It's hard to find people in the municipal world right now because it is a competitive market. There were some changes to vacation time, but if you dig into that a little bit deeper, you'll see it brings it in line with the people that our department heads are actually supervising. So I appreciate council moving forward with that, and it seems like because this is only a one-year pay plan that it gets controversial. Sometimes it gets political, and at the end of the day, that's fine, but it's not really fair for the people that are doing the work. And there's not a single person in this pay plan that makes $150,000 a year. The maximum pay is $111,000, and there's only 4 people that reach that number, and that's the police chief, the fire chief, the DPS director, and the finance director. Just a couple other things real quick. It's really been a great week in the city of Westland. It's hard, sometimes we don't have a lot of Christmas spirit in this room here tonight, but in the last week, there's been a lot of really great things happening in the city. There's been holiday events all throughout the city. Of course, here at City Hall earlier in the week, at Jefferson Barnes last week, we were at the mall on Saturday for our annual shopping spree, and they estimate that close to 7,000 people came out for that. So there's been a lot of good things. We had 4 really great grand openings this week. The Regency skilled nursing facility that's on Newburgh and Ford Road, that was a $16.5 million project. Remember, that was the old Moody's landscaping yard, so what a great reuse of that property. The Edge Fitness opened up Saturday in the old Joanne Fabric Building. First class operation, and we also cut the ribbon on 2 minority-owned small businesses in the city of Westland. One kind of on the north side of town and one closer to the south side of town. So it's been a really good week. This Thursday is going to be the grand opening of the new IMAX theater at Imagine Theater in Canton. It'll be the largest IMAX screen in the state of Michigan. It'll be just in time. We're going to cut the ribbon Thursday night, and on Friday you can go see the new Star Wars movie and the new IMAX. So it's been a good week. We've had a great year. We've got a lot to be thankful for. I'm going to circle back and tell Councilman Hammonds I am going to miss you on council, because you may not miss some of the stuff we heard here tonight, but at the end of the day, I really liked your style, and one of the things that looking back at the way that you conducted yourself for 10 years was that there were several times that we disagreed on things, but your style, and I think we can all learn from it, is that we agreed to disagree, but we did it in a way that wasn't disagreeable. And I think that that's how a lot of the elected officials before us and a lot of their pictures are on the wall back there, I think that that's how they conducted business, and I think that that's something that we need to strive for in the first, after the first of the year. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
I do have a few things this evening, Council President. First off, it's pretty clear the mayor didn't shop at Joann's, but my wife did, and she mourned the passing. Second, it seems like I have to do this every 6 months or so, and I'll do it because we have 2 new council members in the audience, and we have new speakers tonight at the podium. When folks come up for comments from the public at the end, and you have questions for the council, the appropriate way to handle that is state your question, and then the council members can respond later in their comments if they so choose. That public comment period is not a deposition period, if you will. You don't get to pepper them with questions like you see on TV. They have no obligation to respond in that fashion. And usually, as I say, every 6 months or so, I have to remind people of how that process actually works. Third item is on the Cutchess versus City of Westland case. That was a lawsuit filed, as council knows, in 2018 over, it had 7 different counts over ordinances and various constitutional allegations. In May of this year, the city won most of that case in a decision by federal judge Nancy Edmonds, including striking a class action that was alleged for ordinance interpretation and enforcement on debris removal and grass cutting. The plaintiffs then appealed that decision to the Sixth Circuit, and it sits in the Sixth Circuit. If the Sixth Circuit finds any of it to come back, it'll come back down to Judge Edmonds. The insurance company, Insurance Defense Council, in taking this into account, has recommended, and tonight council authorized settlement for $62,500 in order to avoid all of the litigation costs associated with class actions, the work that's been done to date, going up to the Sixth Circuit and coming back down. So it's always more complicated and nuanced than it seems, and certainly avoiding a class action and ending a Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals action is what council was doing tonight on the recommendation of both Insurance Council and the city attorney. Nope, not finally. Take that back. I do want to let council know that, hang on, I got to find the right sheet. With regards to the millage, the city cannot expressly advocate support for the vote on the millage. The city is allowed to communicate issues of factual information relative to the millage, and I'll actually circulate to city council. There's an MML sort of one-page fact sheet of do's and don'ts. I'll send that to you tomorrow just so that you have it. But individual council members do not lose their right, and the mayor and directors don't lose their right in their individual capacity to express your own opinions about the millage. So understand that there are limitations as to the city's ability to advocate as compared to educate, but that when you read that, make the distinction on what you can do as an individual as compared to the city can do in that regards. Next. And finally, I want to be right this time. Yeah, I feel like I'm the councilman over here with a long list. Finally, I do want to say to Councilman Hammonds, I've enjoyed working with you for the last decade. You should be extremely proud of the body of work that you've been involved in over that 10 years. We can pick out, everybody gets to pick out sort of their individual thing that they like, but what they really should look at is that whole body of work that you've participated in over the decade, and I've always found you to be very professional, whether it's you're calling me with a question or I'm giving some advice. And from my end of it as the city attorney, I appreciate that. And who I really want to thank is your wife, Melissa, because while you get to sit up there, you have to put up with all of this. And having had a very active spouse in her professional career, I know what it means to be the spouse who's at home dealing with those other things and maybe hearing the grief because they think, well, if I complain to her, maybe she'll complain to him. So, Melissa, thank you for everything that your family's put up with and supported over the last decade as well. Thank you, Council President.
Start council comments with Councilwoman Green.
Thank you. I would like to start by thanking everyone for coming out tonight on this brisk evening. I also wanted to clarify in reference to my vote. I am pro-recycling. I recycle quite a bit at my home. My mom recycles all the time. My vote against the item on the agenda was due to the fact that I believe that the majority of voters, based on Westland voting history statistically in our city, will vote in November. And I believe that due to there being no urgency with any of the other expenses and how we approve them without requiring proof of any kind in some instances, to stick this on a millage, or excuse me, the ballot as a 911 when we know more people are coming in a few months, I would have preferred to have seen that. And also the fact that we have exercised minimal restraint with these expenses in the city. We just approved almost $200,000 for new computers that were unbudgeted. We get unbudgeted expenses all the time when we announce a balanced budget, and then we get hit with budget appropriations over and over and over again that were unbudgeted items, even though we take weekends at a time to go through the budget, and then we get all of these unbudgeted items that were not included in the budget into the millions of dollars. So in addition to the tax increase, so I am pro-recycling, but I'm not, when we don't exercise proper oversight, I can't approve that without hearing from the majority of the residents. I wanted to speak to, just briefly touch on, the mayor mentioned disagreeing without being disagreeable. One of the things in life that we tell even students in elementary school is don't follow the crowd. Be your own person. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. If somebody, you heard this saying probably multiple times, if somebody jumped off of a cliff, would you jump off as well? So as an adult and an elected official who has been put in position by the community to stand up for what I believe the interests of the voters are, that we all represent, disagreeing or having a difference of opinion is not being disagreeable. It just means that you don't agree. It just means that for whatever the reason, you have a varying of opinion. And it also means that no one will control my voice or my vote. So we have to take the emotions out of what is disagreeable. If I see things differently based on my vantage point and my feedback from the community, that does not mean that I don't respect the mayor or the men that I serve with. I send the mayor emails and text messages all the time giving him heads up about stuff going on in the community so that he does not, hopefully, look bad with some of the things that are going on. So I think that as an individual and an adult, it's important to not only stand up for yourself, but be vocal when something is important to you. And it's important to the community that you represent. So I do not agree with the disagreeable. I'm very much an individual, and I'm going to keep speaking up on behalf of the community as I see it. The mayor also mentioned the 2% increase for the community. I just wanted to reiterate that our residents are being asked to increase their out-of-pocket taxes because we don't have enough money in the city to cover our bills, recycling being one of them. So when you don't have enough money to cover your bills, but you take a salary increase when that 2% could have, showed the community that, hey, we're willing to work with you. In addition to the fact that we really do have very good benefit packages in the city. They're not scraping by. This is not minimum wage. This is not entry-level salaries. So to propose a salary or a tax increase while taking a salary increase, and in addition to giving the fire department even less while having proposed a cut to their budget, but when it comes to the administration and elected officials in this city, we're not taking a cut. I don't agree with that. So I express that, but I disagree. I'm not, I don't know. I thank God for having a personality that I don't require to be liked or to go along. I am 100% committed to the residents of Westland, and I will not deviate from what I said when I was knocking on doors 2 years ago, no matter who I serve with. Whether they appreciate it or not, that is of no consequence to, or no, it makes no difference to me as long as the community appreciates my service. I also wanted to just encourage the community and as a whole, when you want to know what's important to politicians, watch how we vote. Watch the vote. That tells you who we are. Do not allow us to give you a resume or a biography or a explanation. Watch how we vote. That tells you what is important to us and who is important to us. And I'll leave it at that. I wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a safe and happy New Year. And also, Adam and Bill, I had a chance to serve with you for these 2 years, and I'm telling you, it's just like yesterday. Like it went by so fast, but I feel like I've learned a lot over these 2 years, and I'm coming into my own as a city councilwoman. And I look forward to what the future holds. And Adam, I just wish you good luck with all your future endeavors. Thank you.
Councilman Hammonds.
Thank you, Council President. I want to start off by thanking everybody that publicly recognized me tonight. I greatly appreciate taking time to say some nice words to me and recognizing me. When you think back 10 years, it seems like it went by so fast. And you don't realize the amount of work and time and effort that you put into this job as a council person. And I think back to one of the first years when I was on council. I got into council, we found out we were gonna have $35 million budget deficit. I found out, I think that same year, that the park was contaminated. And every time we turned around, the old city hall was flooding. So those are just some of the small things, or not small things, but large things that are dropped on you as a public official. But when you look back, I think we dealt with the budgets over the years working together. We dealt with the park. We've got one of the most beautiful parks in the state over at Central City Park. We dealt with the City Hall issue, all working together. Look at this building. We took an old building and retrofitted it, and we have an amazing facility now. So as Mr. Fasson said earlier, you look over a work of 10 years, you can't just put your finger on one thing. It's the body of everything we've done. And we've done a lot of work in a 10-year period, council members working together, city clerks, the mayor, directors, police and fire. I mean, the list goes on. We didn't get here by being individuals. We got here by working together. I want to my goal when I got on city council was to try to make the city better. And I think working with everybody, I think the city is better. And that was my goal, to have a better city when I left. And I hope I've left it that way for the residents. I want to thank all the residents for re-electing me, voting for me. Been elected 3 different occasions. And I want to thank them for standing behind me each and every time and giving me their vote of confidence. Mayor, like I've said earlier, it was a pleasure working with you. You've taught me a lot. Like you said, we've battled, but we always came out, I think, in a positive manner, and the city is in a better spot. I want to thank all the directors. It's been a pleasure working with all of you, our police chief, our fire chief. Thank you. It's been great working with you guys. Please let all the guys know it's been great working with them and working for them, as well as why I've been on the council for 10 years. To my council colleagues, you hear it a lot. We always didn't agree on everything, but somehow we always found a way to make things work out what's best for the city. So it's been a pleasure working with you guys and all the council members before this current council. I want to thank all the unions for their support. Those guys are out there busting their butts every day for our city. They've opened my eyes to the job that they do each and every day by inviting us out and showing us what they do. So I want to thank them for their support, but also for the work they do. I want to thank my 3 boys. Missed a lot of baseball games, soccer games, and football games for being here on council. It takes a lot of time. Anyone says that this job is just 2 meetings a month, they're crazy. Everybody up here works extremely hard. It takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, and I commend them. But my sons, I know they miss me, and I'm glad I'm going to be around a little bit more. And to my wife, she's always been there for me, always stood by my side, never asked me to quit, never asked me to leave. She's always been there. She's been my voice of reason, so thank you, Melissa. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Councilman Hart.
Well, how do you follow that? I guess just real quick at first, happy holidays to everybody that do spend time. Adam drives a good point home. It's about your family. That's why Adam's retiring from council life. And I guess we all could take a little lesson from that, myself included. Carve out more time for your family. You never know when it's your last Christmas. You never know what might happen, so that's important. Adam, I had the opportunity to sit in that audience for a couple of years, and at that time I looked up to you as kind of a role model. Then I have the privilege and have had the privilege to sit on the dais here with you for 2 years and look at you as a mentor and again as another role model. And as you move on, I'll continue to look at you in that same way. A lot of people have hit a number of key points, and I don't want to keep hitting them, but your body of work has been fantastic. But the mayor mentioned kind of your demeanor. And the one thing I will say, above all, in my opinion, is you have exuded and demonstrated what I believe is class. Okay, you've had class no matter what the situation, no matter what was going on. I've never seen you get loud that I remember. I've never seen you jump up and down. I've never seen you grandstand. That's class. And that's a lesson we all need to learn from that. And that's something I'll continue to take away from your years of service. Please understand that, again, I hold you in the highest regard and thank you for everything that you've done for us. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Londa.
Thanks, President Gabao. I'll start off just about a few things that were raised tonight. Response on the millage. I don't think any of us are happy that we're in this position where we're putting a millage forward, but it's needed. And again, the residents have an opportunity to vote yes or no on it. Am I allowed to say that? And like I said, I'm not happy about it, but at the end of the day, it's up to the residents, and we'll see where that goes. As far as a few other things that were raised, talking about questions that are asked up here, maybe I don't ask a lot of questions up here, but I can tell you right now, I asked the administration many questions. They're nodding their heads yes. When I stop at City Hall, I'm in their office for a half an hour at a time, at least, each one. Had a huge a huge list of notes for the pay plan that I asked all the questions. They all were answered. Was I happy with every one of them? Not necessarily, but they were answered. So a lot of my questions are asked behind the scenes, not necessarily publicly. If the residents want me to ask them publicly, if you want me to talk for more, I'd be more than happy to. But a lot of the questions I do ask are privately, and I share it with my colleagues as I see them in passing or discussing over the phone. And Councilman Hammonds and Councilman Johnson, as stated during the presentations earlier, and some of the stories that were shared from our colleagues, you guys have been part of some major accomplishments in the city that you should be very proud of. Each of you brought a unique experience and expertise to us. and I think we've all drawn on it from time to time. I'll just share a few quick stories. I'll start with Adam. You know, Adam's a great father, husband, and overall person. I also looked up to you. You were somebody that encouraged me to run for city council, and I thought you were crazy. But I appreciate you, you know, having the confidence in me, and you were one of the people that supported me from the get-go, and when other people might have ran away, you stuck by me, and you took those phone calls from me when I was struggling on some of those days on the campaign trail. You helped me out a lot, and I greatly appreciate that. As far as Councilman Johnson, same thing, you know, we didn't always agree on things, but, you know, the second I called Bill Johnson, I needed help for something, for a veteran, or for, you know, I had a family, there was a situation where somebody passed away. Reached out to him, he got $1,000 donated from the UAW. We ran through the JCs. I also dealt with Councilman Hart on that when he was the president at the time. We helped that family out during the holidays. So a lot of that stuff, you know, we don't talk about publicly, but, you know, those are some of the things that these two gentlemen would do behind the scenes. It's been a privilege working with both of you, and I thank you for all your hard work on the council and your dedication to the city. You're both going to be missed, and I know I'll stay in contact. So, the mayor mentioned a lot of the events that we had. The Deck to City Hall event was great. We had to move it inside due to weather, but I think it was well attended, and kids and families seemed to have a great time. The $10,000 shopping spree at the mall was fantastic. Once again, the mall was slammed, jam-packed for most of the day. Two lucky winners won $5,000 shopping sprees, and two other lucky winners won a $100 gift card. So. But I think everybody had a great time. And then also the Norway tree lighting was also last week, and we had a good time with that. And the mayor mentioned the grand opening of the Super EMAX at the Imagine Canton / Westland. Half of that is in Westland and half is in Canton. We have the largest screen in the Midwest in Westland. Granted, it's only a small sliver of Westland, but I encourage you to get out and support that business around the holidays. Star Wars is coming out next week, and I'll be going to watch it. But other than that, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you to all the residents for all your support over the years.
Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you. I just want to explain my vote really quick. I voted against the mayor's pay plan, appointed officials, and mayor's office pay plan. I don't like to repeat things once they've already been said in the meeting. Councilwoman Green explained it pretty well. What stuck out to me the most was that this year we gave the firefighters only 1% increase. These appointees are going to get 2 plus some other benefits. Right now, our police their union agreement is up. They're in discussions right now. I just think it was unfair. There was some talk amongst the council possibly to make some changes to this. A little disappointed that it got approved as is, but just wanted to explain that. And then I voted in support of the clerk's package. There wasn't significant changes, as it's just for the clerk and the deputy clerk. Councilman Johnson, get lost for words. It's tough to find the words to say. He was a councilman that I looked up to when I first started running. And when you knock doors, people tell you a lot of things. But when I knocked doors each campaign, people brought up Councilman Johnson. And if you ask for their vote, a lot of people would tell me, what does Johnson have to say about you? I can't vote anyway unless Johnson says. He's been here a while. He did a lot of good things, and his supporters really, really went all out for him. So 13 years is something to be proud of. 10 years is something to be proud of. Just the amount of stuff that I've learned being on council in a few years, I can't imagine what Hammonds and Johnson have learned and are going to take with them for the rest of their lives, this knowledge. So good luck in the future. And then I'll just close by saying happy birthday to Councilwoman Green.
I'd like to start by thanking Aiden and Kenzie, the two students from Roosevelt McGrath Elementary, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. I'd like to apologize to the mayor for not calling Mr. Rock out of order for his personal attacks. It is in our policies and procedures, as well as stated on the agenda, that everyone has access to and that there's copies of out in the hall in regards to personal attacks. So again, Mayor, I'm sorry that I didn't act on that quick enough during his comments. In regards to Mr. Asper's comments and allegations, we're up here, and as public officials, people can say and do or say anything they want about us, literally without much recourse because we're elected officials. But there is a line, and bringing my wife into that discussion crosses that line. Because she is not an elected official. She's not a public figure. And bringing someone's family into this, bringing my wife into this is wrong on a lot of different fronts. And just so that everyone is aware, just because your house is not listed with a realtor does not mean it's not up for sale. All the proper taxes were paid to the city and to all the various taxing jurisdictions during the time that my house was up for sale. And that was confirmed with the assessing office. So his unfounded allegations and his Facebook posts that went out there and accused us of committing a felony and fraud, I personally can't take any action against those allegations and misstatements of fact, but my wife certainly can, and her attorney is looking into it as we speak, because at some point in time, there has to be some accountability for the statements that are made. And as a public official, again, I know that you can say what you want about me, but in most cases, all the residents have left family out of this, but when he brings my wife into this, that takes it to a whole nother level. And so that's all I'm ever going to say on this matter. Adam, once again, thank you for your years of service. We've been on the same side of most issues and on the opposite side of a couple issues. But overall, it's been a great working relationship with you. Same thing with Councilman Johnson. And you're going to be missed. You've always been a voice of reason up here on the council, and your years of service are much appreciated. Thank you again for your service. In regards to, I'm going to let some of that other stuff go. I would also like to wish all the residents a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays for whichever your beliefs are during this time of year. And thank you all for another year of moving this city in the right direction and keeping things going in this city. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?